Today we are attempting to bring some structure, maybe some clarity, to a topic that is just completely swamped in misinformation. Trying to research it online, it's just an exercise in total information overload. We are diving into the world of the Illuminati.
That's right. And if you type that name into a search engine, you're not just wading through data, you are instantly drowning.
Drowning is the word.
Contradictory claims, wild theories, just endless noise, really. The sheer scale of the confusion online is staggering.
It really is.
Which honestly proves why we need a focused look, a deep dive like this.
Absolutely. And the confusion, it's actually documented. We saw research cited showing like a simple search on ask.com gives you 1.4 million entries. Google, 12 million. Yahoo, it just blasts you with over 33 million results.
That's insane.
I remember trying this years ago. 5 minutes in, I felt like I needed a map, a blueprint, just to keep my head straight.
Yeah.
That impossible pile of contradictory claims is exactly why we need a single guide.
And that guide, that blueprint for today, comes from Jim Marrs' book from 2017, The Illuminati, the secret society that hijacked the world.
Okay.
So our mission today, just to be clear, isn't really to decide if these claims are true or false. It's to structurally analyze Marrs' central thesis. And it's a big one.
It is audacious, yeah.
The idea that a single secret society, starting way back in antiquity, has just continually evolved.
Through different groups, different names?
Exactly. Different historical incarnations, all to maintain control over world events, like an invisible government running things behind the scenes.
Okay, so let's unpack this maybe from a philosophical angle first, because a lot of people just instantly shut down when they hear conspiracy theory.
Right, that term gets thrown around a lot.
And Marrs' work tackles that head on. It frames the question not as just paranoia versus reality, but more about causality, like why do things happen?
Precisely. On one side, you have analyses like Dr. Stephen Novella's. He points out that conspiracy theories often flourish because we humans, we seem to have this evolutionarily adaptive paranoia.
Makes sense. Survival instinct.
Yeah, and a really well-documented tendency for pattern recognition. We look for patterns to make sense of a complex world.
Even when they're not actually there sometimes.
Right. Sometimes we connect dots that aren't meant to be connected.
But then there's the flip side, the perspective Marrs highlights and, well, adopts in the book.
Which argues that major world events, we're talking revolutions, wars, financial collapses, they just don't happen by accident.
Not on that scale.
Exactly. So if a huge event like a war starting or a currency suddenly tanking, if you can't reasonably chalk it up to pure chance or an act of God,
then the logic follows.
Then someone planned it. It is a conspiracy, by definition.
And Marrs argues the term conspiracy theorist is then used almost like a weapon.
Yeah, like a derogatory slur.
To just instantly dismiss anyone who dares to question the official story, whether it's about, say, the JFK assassination or 9/11.
The argument is that critical thinking gets shut down not based on evidence, but just by labeling. Carl Oglesby, who Marrs quotes, put it pretty strongly. He said, "Conspiracy is the normal continuation of normal politics by normal means."
That's a provocative way to put it, normal politics.
Yeah. So for this deep dive, we're looking at Illuminism as Marrs presents it, like a long-term philosophical strategy for control, not just a series of historical footnotes or mistakes.
Okay. So if this idea, this philosophy of hidden control is ancient, where do we even begin? Marrs takes us way back.
We have to go back to the very first known great civilization about 6,000 years ago, ancient Sumer.
In Mesopotamia, modern Iraq.
Right. The civilization that gave us so much foundational stuff. Mathematics, written laws, large-scale farming, astronomy.
The building blocks.
The building blocks. Now, the jump-off point here is that standard Western history usually says Sumer just grew gradually out of hunter-gatherer groups.
Makes sense. Slow evolution.
But the Sumerian cuneiform tablets themselves, they tell a much more dramatic story.
What do they say?
They claim civilization wasn't developed, it was given to them, brought by beings they called the Anunnaki.
Anunnaki, no, that translates to?
Literally, those who came from the heavens to the earth.
Okay, so we're talking ancient astronauts right out of the gate.
That's the interpretation Marrs presents, yeah. Extraterrestrial visitors essentially kickstarting human civilization.
Wow. Okay, hold on. We're talking about a secret society hijacking the world. And the origin story, according to Marrs, isn't just some ancient priesthood. It's aliens.
It sounds wild, but Marrs connects it to some interesting, less fringe ideas, too.
Like what?
He notes that Francis Crick, the Nobel laureate who co-discovered DNA structure.
Yeah, of course.
Crick himself speculated about something called directed panspermia.
Directed panspermia.
The idea that maybe intelligent beings from elsewhere seeded life, or at least the complex building blocks for life, on Earth ages ago.
So Crick opened the door, scientifically speaking, to the possibility of extraterrestrial influence on life itself.
Exactly. It lends a sort of unexpected, almost scientific plausibility, or at least possibility, to the claim that the deepest secrets held by later secret societies trace back to this initial contact, this gift from the heavens.
The implication there is huge. If our fundamental knowledge comes from non-human sources.
Then the elite, the illuminated ones, they're guarding something truly world-changing.
Which brings us to this idea of lost esoteric knowledge from the Anunnaki, specifically this substance, white powdered gold.
Yes, Emphert. It's mentioned in Egyptian carvings.
Effort.
And Mars links this to a modern discovery by an Arizona chemist named David Hudson.
What did Hudson find?
Hudson claimed to have rediscovered how to create monatomic elements, platinum group metals, but in a single atom state, a white powder.
Atomic, meaning single atoms not bonded together.
Exactly. And when he got these metals into this specific white powder form, the material supposedly started doing really weird things, defying physics as we know it.
Like what kind of weird things?
Hudson claimed the powder lost 44% of its weight when it reached this state.
Lost weight. Just sitting there.
Yeah. And even stranger, he documented it gaining or losing more weight depending only on heating or cooling it.
That sounds impossible.
He even claimed he could make it way less than the pan it was sitting in, or conversely, make it weigh hundreds of times more than it started. Anti-gravity effects, essentially.
That's monumental if true. Weight manipulation, anti-gravity, that changes everything. Does Mars provide any, modern scientific backup for this, or is it presented purely as this ancient secret knowledge?
It's presented as the ultimate secret, the key to unlocking immense power, maybe the key the ancients held. Mars connects this monatomic gold directly to alchemy.
Ah, the Philosopher's Stone.
Exactly. The legendary substance alchemists were searching for. Supposedly it could transmute metals, maybe grant immortality.
And he links it to biblical manna, too. The stuff Moses fed the Israelites.
That's the connection he makes. He includes this anecdote about Hudson asking a rabbi about this white powder.
Yeah, and
The rabbi's response was apparently quite direct. The white powder is the magic. It can be used for white magic or black magic.
power without morality. Just pure potential.
Precisely. And this core idea, having special secret knowledge, it's right there in the name itself, Illuminati.
Meaning the enlightened ones.
Enlightened specifically by receiving knowledge from a higher source. And that tradition, Mars argues, didn't just pop up in Bavaria in 1776.
It goes back further.
Way further, to the ancient mystery schools of Greece and Egypt.
Okay, the mystery schools, what was their deal?
They practiced what's called Gnosticism.
Gnosis, like knowledge.
Right, but a specific kind. The belief that true understanding doesn't come from books or priests or external rules. It comes only from personal inner enlightenment. Gnosis.
Direct experience.
Direct experience. And this knowledge they believed they had, it was considered so powerful, maybe so dangerous to the status quo.
That they had to guard it closely.
Jealously guarded is the phrase Mars uses, kept from the profane, meaning anyone not initiated into their secrets.
This tradition of secrecy seems key to how this knowledge, or the claim of it, could survive for so long.
Absolutely. And Mars points to groups like the Essenes as carrying this forward.
The Jewish sect around the time of Christ?
Yeah. They're often described as protectors of a kind of mystic Christianity, maybe preserving elements of these older mystery traditions. Some researchers, like Nesta Webster, whom Mars cites, saw the Essenes as maybe the first real secret society.
The start of a direct line.
A direct line passing down these crucial Kabbalistic secrets that's ancient Jewish esoteric knowledge right through history, leading eventually towards the groups we know today.
So what stands out here connecting Sumer, Egypt, the Essenes? It's this consistent theme.
Knowledge passed down secretly. Symbols, allegories, initiation rituals.
And always this core idea of exclusivity. Only a chosen few get the real wisdom.
Yes. That tradition starts way back, and it really paves the way for how these societies operated later on.
Okay, so the secrets start in the deep past, passed through mystery schools. Who carries that torch, that hidden knowledge, through the Dark Ages and into medieval Europe? Mars points to a very famous group.
He does. Moving into the Middle Ages, the argument is that the Knights Templar pick up the mantle.
Founded around 1099 AD.
Right. Officially, they were crusaders, protectors of pilgrims. But Mars asserts they were much more than that. They were conduits,
Conduits for what?
bringing that ancient knowledge, the Kabbalah, the mystery school traditions, back from the Holy Land into Europe.
And they became incredibly powerful, incredibly quickly, didn't they? Their wealth was legendary.
Immense wealth. And it wasn't just from spoils of war, they were financial innovators. They developed this amazing, really ahead of its time proto-banking system.
Banking in the 12th century.
Absolutely. A pilgrim could deposit gold or silver at, say, the London Temple. They'd get a coded letter of credit.
Like a receipt?
More like a check or even a primitive credit card. They could travel to Jerusalem, present that coded letter at the temple there, and withdraw the full amount.
No need to carry heavy, dangerous gold across continents.
Exactly. It revolutionized finance. They essentially invented international banking centuries before the famous Italian banking families or later the Rothschilds.
And all that wealth, plus the claim they held dangerous hidden knowledge that made them a threat.
A huge threat to kings, to the Pope, their sudden brutal destruction in 1307. Mars argues it wasn't just about greed or heresy charges.
What was it about then?
It was allegedly because their secrets hit too close to home. Secrets about the innermost mysteries of Christianity. Things so explosive, apparently, that the church felt it had no choice but to wipe them out.
But they didn't just vanish, did they? The theory is they went underground.
Exactly. Survival through secrecy. That becomes a recurring theme. Mars suggests many Templars fled, especially to places like Scotland.
And merged with other groups.
Fused with groups like the Rosicrucians, and crucially, they passed their doctrines, their symbols, their secret knowledge into the existing stonemason guilds.
The guilds that built the cathedrals.
Yes, and that's the direct lineage, according to this theory, that leads straight to Freemasonry.
And you can even see echoes in their symbols. Mars mentions the skull and crossbones.
Yeah, he points out their naval flag, the black flag they flew, apparently displayed a white skull and crossbone.
Pirate flag.
Yeah, we think of it that way now. But Mars argues it's a surviving Templar icon and therefore a proto-Illuminati symbol passed down through these underground streams.
Which leads us straight to Freemasonry becoming the next major vehicle. But not all Freemasonry is the same.
That's a key point in Mars' analysis. He talks about Illuminized Freemasonry. The idea is that Freemasonry has, or had, two circles.
An inner and outer.
Exactly. A large, visible outer circle. Members learn the rituals, the allegories, the public face of it all.
Standard fraternity stuff, maybe?
But then there's an elite inner circle, initiates who supposedly know the real secrets.
And what might those be?
Things like the ancient astronaut theories we mentioned, or maybe more Gnostic, dualistic views of God. Even Luciferian interpretations that would shock the outer ranks.
It's a perfect structure for hiding in plain sight. The big outer group provides cover.
It's camouflage. And Mars argues this isn't just speculation. He quotes Masonic historians themselves.
Like Albert Pike.
Albert Pike, yeah. Author of the hugely influential Masonic text Morals and Dogma. Pike apparently wrote quite openly that the lower degrees are intentionally given false interpretations of the symbols.
Intentionally misled.
Yes. Pike allegedly said the true meanings are reserved for the adepts, the princes of masonry.
Wow. So this system of layers of deceit, of using a large organization to shield a secret core, that's the legacy passed down for the Templars.
That's the argument. A blueprint for secret control carried forward into the modern era.
Okay, so we've traced this thread. Anunnaki knowledge, mystery schools, Templars, feeding into Freemasonry. Now we finally land on the group that gives the whole conspiracy its name.
The Bavarian Illuminati, founded by Adam Weishaupt.
In Ingolstadt, Bavaria. And the year is crucial, isn't it?
1776, right in the heart of the Enlightenment, the Aufklärung in Germany.
A time of questioning authority, pushing back against the church and monarchies.
Exactly. And Bavaria at that time was under heavy restrictions from the Jesuit-controlled state and church. Weishaupt himself was a former Jesuit professor, which is pretty interesting.
His original goals,
Yeah.
were they sinister from the start? I know some historians paint him differently.
It's debated. Thomas Jefferson apparently called him an enthusiastic philanthropist. Maybe his initial idea was genuinely about freeing minds through reason.
But Mars focuses less on intent and more on the structure he created.
Yes. The ruthless, highly organized, and incredibly secretive structure designed to achieve his ends, whatever they ultimately were. It was all about absolute secrecy and information control.
How was it structured?
It was complex. 3 main classes: nursery, masonry, and the top-level mysteries. But Weishaupt's real innovation for control was the cell structure.
Ah, like modern spy networks.
Pretty much. An individual member, an Illuminatus, would typically only know two other people in the order, the person directly above them and the person directly below them.
So if one person gets caught,
The damage is contained, only 3 people are compromised, the rest of the network stays hidden. Brilliant for operational security.
they use codes too, right? To hide things even further.
Oh yeah, intricate codes. Classical aliases, Weishaupt called himself Spartacus.
After the rebel slave leader?
Right. Cities got code names too. Vienna was Rome, France was Illyria. They even used the Persian calendar for dating letters just to make things harder for authorities to decipher.
That's intense compartmentalization. It would make them almost invisible.
And the recruitment process itself was designed for control. It started with the novice stage. You had to sign a strict non-disclosure agreement called silentio. Silence.
But the real control came from watching their own members.
Constant surveillance. They had spies within the order called scrutators.
Scrutators.
Yeah. And members were required to write these detailed, regular reports, not just on potential recruits, but on everyone they knew.
Including family.
Including family. They had to report weaknesses, prejudices, financial situations, basically gathering intel for potential manipulation or blackmail later on. Total information dominance.
Chilling. And this leads us to the core principles, the actual doctrine taught in the higher levels. Mars highlights a couple of really disturbing ones.
He does. First, to reach the highest levels, you supposedly had to reject all traditional religion entirely.
Okay, secularism taken to an extreme.
But the really infamous one is Principle the Third.
Which was
The end sanctifies the means.
the classic justification for doing terrible things for a supposedly greater good.
Exactly. Mars argues this principle gave them moral permission for anything deemed necessary for the order's success. Lies, slander, poisonings, assassinations, treason, all fair game if it served the order.
No moral limits for the elite.
None. And then Principle the Fourth demanded absolute loyalty, above all else.
More loyalty to the order than to your own country or king.
Absolutely. Members had to see the superiors of the order as their ultimate authority. Any government not directed by the Illuminati was automatically viewed as illegitimate, a despotism to be overthrown.
Okay, so you have this incredibly disciplined, ruthless, secret organization. But an organization like that needs resources.
Money.
And this is where Mars brings in another major player, the Rothschild family.
The banking dynasty.
Right. Mars asserts that Weishaupt didn't just come up with this on his own. He claims Weishaupt defected from his original path and was essentially recruited, or at least heavily backed, by Mayor Amschel Rothschild.
The founder of the banking house. And crucially, Mars points out that Frankfurt was the birthplace of both the Rothschild financial empire and a major center for the Illuminati.
So the alleged deal was?
Weishaupt provides the revolutionary structure, the secret network, the ideology. Rothschild provides the cash, lots of it.
A marriage of conspiracy and capital.
That's the idea. And their combined goal, according to Mars, nothing less than the total destruction of all existing governments and religions.
How could they possibly achieve that?
The alleged plan was to divide the masses. Weishaupt supposedly called them the goyim, or human cattle, against each other.
Using what?
Any issue they could exploit. Political divisions, racial tensions, social conflicts, economic disparities. Keep people fighting amongst themselves.
Divide and conquer.
Exactly. Weaken nations from within, create chaos, and then, out of that chaos, erect a single global government controlled by the enlightened, illuminated elite.
So that plan, formulated back in the 1770s, that brings us to how they supposedly started putting it into practice. And this involves one of the most controversial documents ever.
The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion.
Right. Now, we absolutely have to preface this. Historians overwhelmingly agree that protocols as we know them are an anti-Semitic forgery, likely created or heavily rewritten by the Russian secret police around the turn of the 20th century to discredit revolutionaries and blame Jews for societal problems.
That's the standard historical consensus, and its crucial context. However, Mars explores a different theory that while the published version is a hateful forgery, the core strategic plan within it might have originated elsewhere.
From where?
Possibly from an earlier secret society, maybe linked to the Italian Carbonari or even the Illuminati itself, and that this original blueprint was later stolen, twisted, and weaponized with anti-Semitic hatred by the Russians.
Okay, so for this discussion, we're looking only at the alleged strategic content of the protocols as Mars analyzes it, purely to understand the supposed mechanics of control described in that text. setting aside its poisoned origins.
Exactly. We're examining the how-to manual it claims to be, not validating the document itself.
Understood. So, within that framework, what are the key strategies laid out in the protocols for achieving world domination?
Protocol 11 talks about using secret masonry, leveraging the existing Masonic lodges essentially as a show army, a public front to distract people while the real work happens behind the scenes.
Misdirection.
Right. Other key strategies include pushing for intense centralization of government power. Protocol 5.
Making states more powerful, easier to control eventually.
That's the idea. Also, establishing huge monopolies, Protocol 6, to crush small businesses and concentrate economic power.
And controlling information flow.
Absolutely critical. Protocol 12 emphasizes controlling the press, the media, ensuring no narrative gets out without their approval or spin.
And it even mentions attacking the family unit.
Yes, Protocol 10 talks about destroying the importance of the family. The idea being if you weaken family ties, people become more reliant on and loyal to the state or the controlling apparatus.
Undermining traditional loyalties. But the ultimate lever of control, according to this blueprint, isn't ideology or force.
It's money, finance, replacing the old power of religion with the new power of debt.
How does Protocol 20 lay out the financial plan?
It's pretty specific. First, institute general taxation. Then, introduce a progressive tax on property. And the final nail in the coffin, a graduated income tax.
The system we mostly live under now.
Pretty much. The idea is it's designed to continuously siphon wealth from ordinary people directly to the financial elite controlling the system.
But the really sneaky part is how they explain national debt.
Can
Can we walk through that logic again? It's kind of mind-bending.
It is, and it's central to Mars's critique. The protocols explain it like this. If a state takes out a loan, say at just 5% interest, seems low, but after only 20 years of paying that interest, the state has paid out an amount equal to the entire original loan amount.
Okay.
But the principal debt, it's still there. It hasn't been paid down at all. The nation is perpetually indebted to the lenders.
So the interest payments just go on forever, enriching the lenders while the actual debt never disappears.
Exactly. The money lenders thrive on endless interest payments. Meanwhile, the population deals with inflation, economic instability, and the constant burden of this unpayable debt. It's described as a system of debt slavery.
And Mars argues this wasn't just theory in a dubious document. He claims this financial manipulation was used to engineer real historical conflicts. The U.S. Civil War.
Yes. He cites Otto von Bismarck, the German chancellor, who apparently claimed that the division of the United States was decided long before the war even started.
Decided by who?
By the high financial powers of Europe, specifically naming the Rothschilds.
Why would European bankers want to split the U.S.?
Fear of American economic independence, especially if the U.S. government kept issuing its own debt-free currency like Lincoln's greenbacks, which bypassed the bankers entirely. So the claim is they sent agents to deliberately inflame the slavery issue, create conflict, and break the powerful, potentially independent nation in two.
Using a real social evil for financial gain and control.
That's the accusation, and this alleged pattern orchestrating conflict, Mars traces it forward.
To the French Revolution, 1789.
He asserts it wasn't just a popular uprising. It was guided, even orchestrated, by cells within French Masonry and the German Illuminati, particularly the Grand Orient Lodge.
Leaders like Lafayette were Masons, weren't they?
High-ranking Masons, yes. And the Jacobin Club, the driving force of the Reign of Terror, is cited as a creation of these Illuminized Freemasons.
Okay, fast forward over a century. World War I and the Russian Revolution. Same playbook.
Mars argues yes. Financed by international bankers, globalists. He names people like Jacob Schiff of Kuhn, Loeb & Co. and Elihu Root, claiming they poured millions, maybe $20 million into ensuring the Bolsheviks took power in Russia.
And Trotsky, he came from New York, didn't he?
Traveled to Russia on an American passport, allegedly with significant funding from Wall Street sources.
While at the same time, Lenin was getting help from Germany.
And reportedly $5 million funneled via Germany and arranged, Mars says, by Max Warburg.
Wait a minute. Max Warburg, the German banker, helping Lenin, while his brother, Paul Warburg, was a key figure in creating the U.S. Federal Reserve.
Exactly. You have two brothers, powerful international financiers, apparently supporting opposing sides in a world war and a revolution. How does that make sense?
It seems completely contradictory, unless it's not about picking a side to win, unless it's about controlling the conflict itself.
Yeah.
This brings us to the Hegelian dialectic.
Okay, explain the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. How does that lead to control.
It's presented as a formula for manipulating history. The elite secretly create or support a thesis, say, Western capitalism.
Okay.
Then they secretly fund or manipulate its opposite, the antithesis, say, Soviet communism.
Setting them up to clash.
Precisely. The conflict, the clash between these two manufactured opposites, wars, revolutions, Cold Wars, inevitably leads to a synthesis.
A new reality.
A new political or economic order that the elite wanted all along. The conflict itself is useful.
It destroys the old order, generates huge profits for bankers funding both sides, fuels the military-industrial complex, and allows them to guide society towards their predetermined goal, usually more centralization, more global control.
So funding communism wasn't about ideology. It was about creating the necessary conflict to achieve a different end goal.
That's the cynical logic presented. Profit from the chaos, guide the outcome. And finally, in this section on executing the plan, Mars connects this blend of ancient mysticism and revolutionary politics to the Nazis.
Nazi connection. How does that fit in?
Mars views Nazism not just as a political movement, but almost as a dark, quasi-religious one, born out of secret societies like the Thule Society.
Which had links back further.
Yeah, the Thule Society saw itself as an offshoot of the Teutonic Knights, which in turn had alleged links to the Templars and, therefore, the Illuminati lineage. Shared goals of hierarchy, esoteric knowledge, world domination.
Which might explain the Nazis' obsessive, almost cult-like search for ancient relics and hidden knowledge. Expeditions to Tibet, Antarctica.
Exactly. They were looking for that lost power, that ancient technology. Which brings us back to exotic tech and a specific figure. SS General Hans Kammler.
Kammler. He was in charge of
The really advanced top-secret Nazi weapons programs, the V-2 rockets, concepts for intercontinental missiles like the A-10, and the really mysterious Die Glock, the Bell.
The Bell. What was that supposed to be?
Reports are fragmented, but it was supposedly some kind of experimental device involving anti-gravity, torsion fields, maybe even time manipulation, pure exotic physics.
And Kammler, the guy overseeing all this super weaponry and concentration camp construction, he just disappeared at the end of the war.
Vanished. Last seen heading off, supposedly, to try and make a deal with the Americans, offering his priceless technological secrets.
Secrets potentially related to anti-gravity, maybe even early atomic insights, derived from that same ancient knowledge stream.
That's the implication Mars explores. That this advanced technology, perhaps rooted in Anunnaki knowledge, didn't just vanish. It simply went deeper underground, likely absorbed into secret U.S. military or black projects after the war, potentially via figures like Kammler cutting deals.
Okay, so the lineage, the plan, the technology, it doesn't end in 1945. It just morphs, which brings us to modern infiltration.
And if there's one modern group Mars directly links to that original Bavarian Illuminati blueprint, it's the Skull and Bones Society at Yale University.
The Order, as they call themselves, brought over from Germany in 1832.
And the connection is very much about bloodlines and establishment power. Its membership is drawn generation after generation from a small core of super wealthy, powerful East Coast families.
Whitneys, Rockefellers, Harrimans, Bushes.
Yes. And Mars emphasizes their symbol, the skull with crossbones. He argues it's not just a frat logo, it is the Templar naval ensign, the Illuminati icon.
So Skull and Bones acts like a recruitment pool.
An entry point into the real network, feeding members into the highest levels of government. Intelligence agencies like the CIA, international finance, the modern power structure.
And beyond the Secretive Campus Society, there are the more public-facing groups.
The big ones. The Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group.
Often linked to figures like David Rockefeller.
Exactly. Rockefeller was a key figure in founding the Trilateral Commission and a longtime leader at the CFR. Mars presents these groups as essentially the shadow government of the West.
What's their function, according to this view?
They bring together the most powerful people, top bankers, CEOs, media moguls, politicians, academics for secret, off-the-record meetings. The goal, to coordinate global policy, bypass national governments, and push towards a unified world system.
Senator Barry Goldwater famously warned about them, didn't he?
He did. He said they intended the creation of a worldwide economic power superior to the political government of the nation-states involved. Pretty blunt.
Okay, so you have the organizational structure. But Mars also talks about a kind of psychological warfare, using symbols, culture.
Yes, a constant subtle conditioning. We see it in pervasive symbols. The most famous is probably the all-seeing eye on the US dollar bill.
The eye in the pyramid.
Right, an ancient Egyptian symbol of Horus, representing power, protection, knowledge. But Mars notes some modern defectors from alleged Illuminati groups interpret it much more darkly.
That's what?
As a demonic eye, supposedly used in trauma-based mind control rituals, especially involving children within the cult structure.
That's disturbing. And there's another key symbol, the owl.
The Owl of Minerva. Minerva was the Roman goddess of wisdom. An owl was featured prominently on an original pamphlet from Weishaupt's Bavarian Illuminati back in 1776.
So these aren't just random images. They're seen as continuity markers.
Connecting the modern globalist agenda right back to the ancient pursuit of secret knowledge and control, symbols of the initiated.
Now this next one is really out there, but Mars includes it. A conspiracy about music frequency. 440 hertz.
Yeah, the 440 hertz frequency conspiracy. It's a strange one. The claim is that around 1939, the international standard pitch for tuning musical instruments was deliberately shifted.
Shifted from what to what?
From 432 hertz, which was apparently more common before then, to 440 hertz, which is the standard we use today.
Why? What's the supposed difference between 432 and 440 hertz?
Proponents of the 432 hertz theory, whom Mars discusses, claim that 432 hertz is somehow mathematically resonant with the universe, with nature, sacred geometry, the human body. They say music tuned to 432 hertz feels calmer, more natural, more meditative, more harmonious.
Okay. So why change it to 440 hertz? What was the alleged motive?
Mars presents the claim that research, possibly funded by groups like the Rockefeller Foundation, found that music tuned to 440 hertz had different psychological effects.
Like what?
That it tended to stifle creative thinking, suppress emotional intuition, make people more like, Vulcans from Star Trek.
Logical, unemotional.
Right. And that it could also foster aggression, mental rigidity, and herd-like nationalism.
Traits that would be useful for.
Useful for the Third Reich, which was rising at the time, and useful generally for keeping populations subdued, stressed, and easier to control in a mass industrial society.
So the idea is that the music we all listen to carries this subtle, built-in disharmony, contributing to modern anxiety, depression.
That's the claim. That the control is so pervasive, it's literally in the airwaves, subtly shaping our consciousness through the music we consume constantly. A very deep level of manipulation, if true.
Okay, finally, Mars delves into accounts from alleged whistleblowers. People claiming to have escaped from this modern network.
Yes, these are some of the most dramatic parts of the book. He discusses Sfali,
Who's she supposed to be?
an alleged former high-level trainer and programmer within the modern Illuminati structure. She provided detailed descriptions of its organization, including a Supreme World Council at the top.
And she made predictions.
She reportedly warned of a planned, orchestrated economic collapse, which would be followed by martial law, and that this would be implemented by military and police leaders who were secretly trained within the cult from childhood.
That's terrifying. And there was another anonymous source, Hidden Hand.
Yes, an individual claiming online to be from the family.
The family, meaning
One of the 13 core bloodline families that supposedly run the Illuminati at the very highest level. And this source made an even more startling claim.
which was?
That these families trace their lineage back to or are guided by extraterrestrial beings. Or perhaps the Nephilim from the Bible.
Connecting back to the Anunnaki origin story.
Exactly. And their stated goal, according to Hidden Hand, is something called a negative harvest.
A negative harvest, what does that mean?
Achieving a spiritual outcome based on service to self-polarity. Essentially maximizing control and power for themselves. And they supposedly achieve this by using media, finance, conflict, everything, to saturate human minds with fear, greed, violence, division, feeding off negative energy.
Like the whole planet is being farmed for negative emotions.
That's the chilling picture painted by that source, that our collective state of fear and conflict is exactly what they want because it serves their ultimate purpose.
And this control extends even to removing political obstacles directly. Assassination.
Mars includes claims, apparently sourced from the daughter of a high-ranking insider, that Illuminati agents were responsible for poisoning U.S. Presidents William Henry Harrison and Zachary Taylor.
Both died suddenly in office.
Yes. And also attempted to poison James Buchanan, the alleged motive.
I may guess. They were obstacles to the Civil War plans.
Exactly. Obstacles to the Rothschild Illuminati agenda for dividing and controlling America. If a leader wouldn't play the game, they were removed.
So bringing all this together, Mars' book isn't just a history, it's presenting a continuous, living philosophy.
That's the core argument. The brilliance of the book, I think, is how it synthesizes all these disparate threads, ancient myths, historical events, financial schemes, modern claims into one coherent narrative.
He argues that Illuminism itself, The doctrine of secret control through knowledge, finance, revolution isn't just a historical artifact. It's an ongoing ism, like capitalism or communism, a method.
Right. A method that survives by hiding, by infiltrating other groups, masonry, governments, finance, and using secrecy and deception as its main weapons.
And maybe the most effective weapon is the sheer scale of it all.
That's what Mars suggests. The plan is so huge, so audacious, so unbelievable, really, to the average person who trusts in democracy and assumes events are mostly random.
That most people just dismiss it out of hand.
Exactly. The sheer extravagance of the claim becomes its best protection. Disbelief is the shield.
Which brings us right back to the very beginning, to the Anunnaki. If Mars sources are pointing towards the possibility that this whole structure traces back to non-human intelligence,
The sky gods who supposedly gave humanity knowledge.
then the question becomes, are the ruling elite today simply guided by these ancient beings? Or, as some of the more extreme theories suggest, are they perhaps the direct descendants? Are they, in some sense, still these ancient beings, the shining ones of mythology?
It leads to a really profound, unsettling final thought. If the ultimate controllers of human history, the architects of this millennia-long plan, haven't been entirely human all along,
Then what is the true nature of the power they're seeking? Is it just earthly control or something else?
and what does that imply for human freedom, for our own destiny? If the whole system is geared towards, as Hidden Hand claimed, a cosmic negative harvest, a reality based on service to self, fueled by our fear and suffering, then the entire drama of human history might just be a resource extraction operation for powers beyond our comprehension.
What is the real game being played?